This has come off of the fact that the United States government have recently been disclosing and putting out UFO files that have been classified and hidden for many years, for over 80 years. So anytime anything will happen with any UFOs or extraterrestrials or anything like that, they kept the lid on it for many years. So much so to the point that people were ridiculed if they even talked about anything to do with any type of experience of visitations, abductions, seeing extraterrestrials. But the thing is, the master teacher came in 1945 when he was born, as I said previously, and when he started his mission in the 60s, 62, 63, and officially, according to prophecy, opened the seventh seal in 1970. From that point, from his arrival from 1945, this is when the activity, UFO activity, started to increase. And most can remember 1947 with the Roswell incident, which the cover-up was very quickly turned into, oh, it was a weather balloon. You know, because they, as you remember from last class, that they have the legacy program and they have people set up during that time anyway. They still do it now, but it's getting harder to do, to cover up things and just make up something, and experts will then analyze what they're saying and see that it doesn't make any sense. So from 1947, the Roswell crash, and then remember the wars as well, the First World War, Second World War, that was all instrumental in extraterrestrials starting to appear and show themselves because of the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima and the atomic weapons being used for the first time, which was something that the extraterrestrial had a big concern about, because we share the planet with them. We share the planet, and the planet is a part of a galaxy in our solar system, in our galaxy, and everything that you see around you is interconnected because you're dealing with different energies and vibrations. And so if something happens, even to yourself, you know, there's a cause and effect of everything. And so if they blew up this planet, it will have a massive impact on the beings that live here. Beings in the waters, being on the land, being in the skies, and so on. And then the galaxy itself is next to other galaxies, and then it will just continue and have a tumbling effect, like a domino effect. So the aliens had to step in because man was starting to use the information that they received by way of these extraterrestrials in a very disagreeable way, or shall I say, mankind was doing that. All right, so I'm just going to quickly run through the slides we covered before, and then where we stopped, I'll continue, and then you're going to have an opportunity. Because another thing that happens with our classes is people request we do format classes. Then other people, I see you, I'm coming to you. Other people are like, they have questions they've come here to ask, and they want to focus on their questions. So what we always do is try to balance it out by giving you some topic to kind of intrigue your mind and to kind of get you ready for asking questions. And then we open it up for your questions about whatever you've been studying. And you should be studying, and the more you study and make notes, so when you're asking questions, you should really be asking questions that are coming from what you're studying and from the scrolls for clarification, rather than just randomly asking questions and we just go all over the place. But yeah, your soul is also yearning for particular answers by way of your ancestors within you that want to know certain things. So we have to juggle and balance everything. Rahubat sister, Zamata, you were going to ask something? If you're going to ask a question, please use the mic just for the benefit of those online as well, so that everyone can hear you. We do record these classes, so we want the audio to be clear. Go ahead.
About me also. I
Rahubat.
was just trying to check in because I'm seeing on the live on the chat that the volume, people are saying that they're not
They're saying they
hearing.
can't hear me.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, let's check that. 1, 2. You're right. No, the mic's working. Can we confirm from more than one person? Because sometimes it's the person that is saying that it's their device that's the problem. So if you generally have more than one person saying it, then we can say, yeah, it's me. But is anyone else experiencing, is this on Zoom or on Clubhouse? Clubhouse?
No, YouTube.
YouTube. Okay, let me see. King, can you hear that? People are saying they can't hear on YouTube, so...
The audio is fine on YouTube. The YouTube app was acting up and they've refreshed it.
Okay.
But it's
Wow,
fine.
It's fine now. All right, cool. Tower. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I was saying that, so we tried to balance it out. I'm going to run through the previous slides. So, UFO files were released. I think they're being released in batches. I think there've been like 3 batches already, or maybe 4 now. And with them being released, just like when they started releasing other files to do with, you know, the whole thing with like the Epstein and all of that, there's a lot that people are finding out. And so they disclose these 4 extraterrestrials that you see on the screen right now. These are the 4 that they've actually released to say these are the most common or most popular ones that they speak about. So you have the short, small ones here in the corner, who most refer to or know as the Greys. And then you have the Nordics, the insectoids, and the reptilians. This is what they've disclosed so far. But as you know from our videos, and if you've ever read any of the Master Teacher Scrolls, if you've ever seen any of his pictures, there's always a craft. You see the craft at the top there, which UFO just stands for unidentified flying object, which is a silly name because you're identifying it and then you're saying it's unidentified. So the master termed it an IFO, identified flying object, because you're identifying it. But then over time, they started to play and change the name. And when a master teacher would say words like overstanding, they would say he's making up words, but they were changing the name from UFO to UFO. But they've changed it now again to UAPs, which is now unidentified aerial phenomena, okay? But yeah, so they've actually disclosed that these 4. So this is just general introduction in terms of chanting. We've done that already, opening up in terms of put your phones on silent and the usual stuff so that we don't get interrupted. We did not chant already. These are some useful resources for newcomers. You can take a picture of the screen, or you know, we just mentioned that our official website, worldwide website, is unitedsaviansworldwide.com. This store here is nashat.co.uk. The Connect page has a lot of information in terms of how you join our classes on Zoom, etc. And the new location, nashatbrixton.com. When we teach and we encourage people to do their research, we use tools such as the blueletterbible.org. These are on the website because the technology you have in your hand today with the smartphones, you can look up things quite easily. Oh, Rahubat Seqen, I see Seqen's online, so I have a moderator on Clubhouse, that's great. Keep an eye in case anyone has a question or wants to be brought up on stage to ask their question. Right, so these are the online resources we use. You can use others, you can even just Google something now, like if you want to know a quote, you can just Google the phrase or the actual quote and Google and it will come up. Because technology is something that everyone has to contend with, especially when we're talking about extraterrestrials and UFOs, because they're so advanced that as we evolve, we start to use more and more technology, and sometimes they don't even know why they're being compelled to do certain things. So years ago, you had to rely on an expert to tell you what the Bible said or what the Quran said, and you would have a man at the podium, a preacher that will stand up every Sunday or Jummah every Friday and tell you what they tell you, and then you know, if you're in the Christian church, you sing songs, you know, play with tambourines and dance and go home, and you come back every Sunday and you do the same thing over and over again. You don't really learn anything because you don't get the opportunity to really ask the questions you want to know. So the technology now allows you to do that. You can go to the Hebrew, you can go to the Arabic, you can go to the whatever. You can click a button, it will take you and drill down into what's the word and what's the meaning of the word, etc., etc. You have the concordance. The etymon line is an etymology online, which basically you can look at the roots of words and research where these words came from, what they mean, because when you say a word in English, which is really part of the problem of the spell, when you say a word in English, one word in English can have up to 500 different meanings. So that's confusion, because when you're speaking with someone, you have to rely that the person you're communicating with is using the same meaning of the word that you're using, but they may not be. You see what I mean? So, like, if I say, do you understand? To one person, that means something else. Like, if I say, look out, to the other person, what does that mean? Look out the window? Look, is there something dropping for me to look out? So when we're actually conversing in English, most people don't realize it's because they're not synchronized. You're not on the same vibration or same wavelength. So creates a lot of confusion, a lot of arguments, a lot of debates that are unnecessary. So it's good to know what word are we actually meaning, because when you say God, for example, that can mean so many different things to different people, you know. So it's so important that language is key. That's why we have our own language. And there's nobody else on the planet that has come along as one of our teachers and given us our own language. Language is key, because that's what's going to unite us, because we won't be speaking and thinking in English. Because how can you think in the language and use meanings that the person or the people that have ulterior motives or they don't have your best interests at heart are going to give you? So if you're thinking in English and speaking in English, you're already under the spell. So we have to learn our language. All right. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, has disclosed UFO. We spoke about this last week, so I'm not going to spend. Of course, if there's anything you want to touch on, and we explain that what you're actually finding out with disclosure, and you're going to find out, it's going to maybe surprise some of you. You are the aliens. We are the aliens that they've been trying to figure out and find and figure out. If you don't think so, just think about how we excel in everything, in every single thing, you know. So what powers you have. So what you're seeing on the screen is the alien Yanun. He came, and this is a scroll that I mentioned as well by his sister called My Brother the Extraterrestrial. And in here, this scroll, which will be hopefully available again soon, different people have given accounts of their interaction with him over the years and the things he has done to show you that he's indeed an extraterrestrial. What you see on the screen are Riskians. Risk is the planet, the 8th planet, yeah, in the 19th galaxy called Ilion, as we're taught by Parnabab Yanun, the master teacher. And he is one of those Riskians from the planet Risk, which is a tri-solar system, meaning that it has 3 suns. Again, this is something that when he came on the scene and was talking and telling us where he's from, and he said that his planet is in a solar system that has 3 suns, back then everybody said he was crazy because they hadn't discovered tri-solar systems yet. But now they have. So everything he was saying has come to pass and been proven to be right and exact. So they really have nothing more to say now, because where they were saying he was crazy and we were crazy for talking about UFOs and extraterrestrials. I already mentioned that these are the 4 extraterrestrials that they've disclosed in the UFO files, and the Greys, the Nordics, the insectoids, and the reptilians. And what you have to recognize, the master has been teaching us this for many years, is that all of these have different species, and they've been intermixing as well. So now they're hybrids of them, and there's so many. So don't just think the Greys are just those ones and that's it. The Nordics and the European, they're related to the Europeans by way of them coming from Pleiades. So they always show these ones, or when people talk about meeting extraterrestrials, Caucasians or Adamites, they always talk about they looking like this, blonde hair, blue eye, etc. As you can see, they haven't disclosed any Nagarus yet, even though we are here. But we have, as you can see from the YouTube videos, we've disclosed 33 in that one video. So they've given you 4. And when I said it at the beginning, you're aliens or we're aliens too, it's because you have to look at the fact that your DNA and you're composed from these beings. So some people say, how can you say, for example, that the Flugerods or the Teros or the Danakil who are in that video, the 33 aliens you need to know and how they relate, is because their DNA and their bloodlines are mixed with extraterrestrials. Yeah? So everyone on the planet, no matter what race you are, we can trace you back to which aliens you related to. So we are related to the Natharu, the Vriskians, and then you have others that are related to the Anunnaki. And then you have the Asians, they're related to beings from the planet Sing, from Nirvana, and you have the Caucasians, they're related to the Nordics, to the Pleiadians, from Arcturus, etc. And then you have the kind of insectoids or greys that have been abducted by different species of like reptilians or draconians and created hybrids. You have people on the planet that have been abducted by extraterrestrials and they've used their DNA or they've inserted their DNA and they've had children on the planet. So it's a very complex and yeah, so we already covered about now the many types of books and things that people are exposing and showing in terms of these UFO files that have been disclosed. The movie, I asked everyone to watch this. This is a documentary. Did anybody watch it? The Age of Disclosure. If you haven't watched it, watch it, because it goes into a lot of what I'm talking about today. Because sometimes, like I said, going back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we were the only people talking about extraterrestrials and UFOs. Everybody was saying we're crazy. Apart from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as well, who mentioned about the mother plane, but he didn't go into details and didn't really explain it much. So today, you know, our brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam, because it's becoming something that is really the hot topic at the moment, and also because, you know, we are the forefront of it, they now also starting to say, oh yeah, but Elijah Muhammad spoke about the mother plane, which is cool, but he didn't go into the details. And the Master explained in the Holy Tablets, if I can find it, or maybe someone can find it quickly for me, but sometimes we find things if the Natharu are working with us. But he says that Master Farad Muhammad is, not Master Farad Muhammad, sorry, Honorable Elijah Muhammad is also part grey. And when you start to look at and relate it to Krill, okay, if I can find it, or if someone can look for it for me, save a bit of time. Oh, here we go. Right. Let me see if this is the part. But yeah, so they've also spoken about the mother plane, which the master then expounded on and broke down that it was the Crystal City that he was referring to, but he just didn't know or have the full facts. I found a page with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but not the one where he talks about him being a grey. So if anyone's online, any of the student teachers, save me time. If you find it, let me know, because yeah, we've got a lot of information to cover. All right, so watch that, disclosure, the age of disclosure, and then also expert in Congress, whistleblowers. We're talking about the Pentagon and all these professionals, congressmen. They've all had a hearing to give you testimonies, and this is the guy that used to work for. He used to work for them, and he was really instrumental in that age of disclosure documentary. And they formed an organization called AATP, which stands for Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And he explained in that disclosure that these are the people that form part of what we call the legacy program, whose job was to the CIA, the USA Force, Department of Energy, and the defense contractors. They were the ones that would try and dismiss anything that, as I said, they're part of this legacy program, and they would dismiss anything. Their job was to make it, but basically have the cover up. So they all work together to do that in many ways. So for example, if there was a UFO crash or anything like that, they will send in the Air Force, and then you'll have those who collect all the debris or anything that was found, and then they will start to put their own narrative to the incident. And it's not just the American government, it's China, Russia, because these four, right? So when you start to read prophecies about what's taking place now, what's going to happen in the future, according to their writings, they talk about, especially when you look at these Leviathan books that talk about the Antichrist and the Beast, and you can see the seven heads and the horn on here, which is really referring to, as I said, China being the dragon, Russia being the bear, America being the eagle, and as the times come into what they call the end of the world as you know it, these conflicts and these things have to play out. And that's what we're witnessing right now. All right, we keep going. So CNN, Fox News, many so-called MSNBC, all these, news agencies, they're all talking about it. And the files that came out showing extraterrestrial crafts that are traveling at speeds and doing things that are not common to the planet. They're traveling, as we mentioned last week, at speeds that it's just beyond the technology they have on the planet right now. The Pentagon, they've been looking for UFOs, and they have, conservatories that they use with telescopes and all that. They watch the planet, they watch the skies all the time. These are just clips to show you that the Pentagon says they've spotted over 350 plus UFO sightings in their latest report. All these guys are scientists, professionals that look at these files and give you their professional assessment as to them being real. So they all, had to swear in Congress, and all these people were interviewed. And as it says there, everyone interviewed in this film, this is relating to the Age of Disclosure film, has direct knowledge of unidentified aerial, now they've changed it again, anomalous phenomena, right? As a result of their work for the US government. And then obviously they put a disclaimer, so while some of their knowledge is classified, they're now breaking their silence with what they can lawfully disclose, because a lot of them have to sign non-disclosure agreements, and a lot of people went missing when they were disclosing information that they knew firsthand from working there, and you know, working on some of the crafts. Like you got people like Bob Lazar, who's a whistleblower, and the first thing they used to do is dismiss and say he didn't work for them, but then people found documents and evidence of him working there to try and reverse engineer some of the crafts that they had in Area 51. You also had Myers, who saw a craft. All of this is in our books, from the Master Teacher, Panda Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, years ago. Yeah, so this was the, you know, witness where they're telling you what they found in terms of the crashes. So they actually have crash sites and recovered material. And the other movie we mentioned, which by the time I did the first class wasn't out yet, the one from Steven Spielberg, called The Day of Disclosure. I don't know if you've seen that. Anyone seen that? I've seen that too. So Spielberg is one of their agents, the extraterrestrial utilizing, because if you remember, he made movies like E.T. And yeah, like, and you have to be acute and aware how they do things. Like the devil will never not tell you the truth. See, because he has to also be judged, right? So his defense is, I didn't make you do it. He gives you the signs, he tempts you, he puts it in front of your face. He even tells you, like, for example, on the packets of cigarettes, that smoking kills. So he's like, they had the choice. You didn't have to drink the alcohol, you didn't have to eat the animal, you didn't have to do all the things you do, but you choose to. So it's not my fault. I told them not to do it, but at the same time, they make it so hard for you not to. So you have to be really strong in your willpower and just to be able to maintain, because everything that the devil gives you is making evil fair seeming. So he will tell you cigarettes can kill you, but then he will make superstars or movies with the superstars looking really cool and hip when they have a cigarette. So then, subliminally, you're going to do or follow what you're looking at your idol doing. So it's important to remember that you are in control. And the real extraterrestrials, we always tell you first, like, they haven't told you about the so-called black, or we say, obviously, black, not in the sense of the color, but our race in terms of extraterrestrials, but we giving it to you. And in time, anything that the master teacher has ever said, if it's too far ahead, you just have to wait for them to catch up. But every single thing he says, they always find it, or you will find it. And if you don't find it, be patient, and you will see in a few years that you will, because they are waiting for him, because he is the man of the hour. This is why he's actually incarcerated, because he was saying and telling us these things when no one had the information and things were disclosed or not disclosed. Okay, so the books I mentioned last week, we read a little bit from Is God an Extraterrestrial already last week. So I'm going to not really read that again, but it's literally the introduction. Remember, this book goes back to the 90s, all right? And he gives you articles after article with the evidence that was found. He talks about the different extraterrestrials, like, for example, when you look at the different religions, they're all talking about extraterrestrials that came to the people. So in Christianity, most people talk about Jesus. Even in their books, and people always say, why do we talk about the Bible and why do we quote the Bible? Is because a lot of people are still under that spell. So we have to use the spell and go into it to explain things for you. And he spoke about the angel Moroni, who came to Joseph Smith, extraterrestrial, one of those Nordics. Jesus, as you know, is supposed to come from heaven, went back to heaven to where his father is, which is an extraterrestrial. So people ask the question, for example, who is God? We say God is an extraterrestrial. But is it God or gods? This is what I was saying at the beginning. Like, one English word, just leaving out one letter, the S, makes you think it's singular, but with the S is plural. And so when you go into the language, you start to find out that the confusion comes when they translate into English and leave out things or make plural things become singular things, all right? So Elohim or Elohim is a plural. I want to show you, if I can just find this quickly. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to give you the question, what is God? From my brother, from Is God an Extraterrestrial? And then I'm going to give you the latest update in terms of how Baba breaks it down. So in this scroll, Is God an Extraterrestrial, on page 15, the question is asked, if God is an extraterrestrial, then what are UFOs? The word UFO is an abbreviation for the words unidentified flying objects. The scientific definition of UFO is simply an object which has a radar reading but refuses to identify itself on ground or in the air. Over 133 countries are experiencing UFO sightings, and in the last 3 decades alone, there have been more than 70,000 reported cases. Read, are there UFO extraterrestrials in your midst? Scroll 84. Let's see if I've got it. Yep, it's right here. No, is that it? Yeah, there you go. So this scroll again, 1995, I think this came out. Yep, 1995 AD. It's right there for those who can see. Yeah. And he's referencing that scroll because we're going to look at that as well, because these are the scrolls I said for this particular topic. Are there UFOs, extraterrestrials in your midst? Scroll number 84. This came out in 1995. So let me carry on. It says, 70,000 reported cases. Read, are there UFOs, extraterrestrials in your midst? Scroll number 84. Many UFO sightings have been written off as attributed to satellites, atmospheric illusions, meteorites, stars, planets, high altitude weather balloons, or aircrafts. UFOs have been seen and photographed by a variety of different people: astronauts, airline pilots, policemen, astronomers, housewives, meteorologists, farmers, people of every race and religion. They have been photographed by Polaroid cameras to still cameras, to portable home cameras, caught on film, tracked by radar, and the question still remains, do UFOs still exist? Are there really beings inside these unidentified flying objects? Why and where did these crafts and beings come from? Are these extraterrestrials here to help you or harm you? Should you fear extraterrestrials or welcome them? Question, is God as an extraterrestrial who comes in a UFO in our midst now? Answer, most definitely. However, there are people that want you to believe that there is no tangible evidence regarding the sightings of these flying objects and their occupants. Believe it or not, Adolf Hitler, 1889 to 1945 AD, and the Nazi Germany were building crafts during World War II. What did Adolf Hitler have to do with extraterrestrials and UFOs? And what does this have to do with God being an extraterrestrial? Answer. Adolf Hitler was influenced by the 80th of the 200 fallen angel beings whose name was Hitler. Right? So a lot of people get this confused. You have a third of the angels that rebelled with the being known as Tarnush, right? And the third were cast down. But then you have the 200 fallen angels who people mistake and say, oh, 200 out of 600 is a third of the angels. But that's not the same. The 200 fallen angels were cast down. This is what you're reading in Revelations 12:7, with Tarnush's son, who's known in the Quran as Iblis, or he's known as Halal, and he's known by many names today. People just call him the devil, right? Anyway, so let's carry on. He says, one of those 200, the 80th one, is called Hitler. And the master gives you the list of all the 200 in the scrolls, and in particular in the holy tablets. All right, so yeah, this is saying that he was influenced by the 80th of the 200 fallen angelic beings whose name was Hitler, a disagreeable being who sought to rule the planet by defected albino leprous beings. He was the dictator of Germany from 1933 AD to 1945 AD. He was impressed by the Ashtar fleet or command, extraterrestrials, and became their man on earth. These beings were humanoids, and they were originally from the Aldebaran constellation. However, they are now living in the Pleiades constellation, the Ashtar command, right? That's one of those Nordic beings that they've disclosed to you now. And it says, it's the image of God that's hanging on your grandfather. Let me go back. It says, the Ashtar command is the image of God that's hanging on your grandmother's wall. This is the image they push in all the Jesus' movies. You can read this in Revelation chapter 13. He carries on to say Hitler had a strong religious belief and thought he was helping bring God's kingdom by helping to clone or create a race of angels known as the superior Aryan race. At one point, these beings became highly insulted after they were labeled untrustworthy by the American government. So they went back in time and had a meeting of psychics with the Thule Society, who were a secret society. The meeting of the Thule Society led to what is called the Third Reich, or the Third Reich, third degree, whose power the world is still under today. During World War II, the Ashtar Command gave Hitler a lot of technology and flying saucers, which Hitler took out to Antarctica. And it says again, refer to scroll entitled, Are There UFOs, Extraterrestrials in Your Midst? Okay. And then he also says, refer to Remember, I said these scrolls we were going to go for Man from Planet Risk, which is scroll number 80. All right. All right. So, Man from Planet Risk, the Holy Tablets, chapter 3, tablet 5. So, in the Holy Tablet, which is this one, chapter 3, chapter 3, tablet 5. Chapter 3 is the scientists, and tablet 5 is called the Dogon and the Serious Mystery. Okay, because as you know, the Dogons, I'll just jump to that quickly and come back. The Dogons, they had mapped out all this before they had telescopes to find this out. So I'm just going to read that tablet 5 quickly. Lo, as mentioned, these extraterrestrials have come to this planet and set up amongst humans, as well as this is tablet page 312 of the Holy Tablets, chapter 3, tablet 5. Earth has benevolent and malevolent beings, so that's agreeable and disagreeable beings, right? In Nubia, that is called Ganawa today, in a land referred to as Mali, whose inhabitants moved from the land of Kemet in Kush, you find one such influence. 4. That is the Dogon. Their imams had an astonishing knowledge of the star Sirius in the Canis Major constellation, given by extraterrestrials long before they migrated to Mali. 5. While yet living in Tamaray, Kemet, called Egypt, where the ritual of the opening of the mouth ceremony is centered around the Sirius star in the Canis Major constellation. They knew that Sirius A, which is the brightest star in the sky, has a satellite called Sirius B, which revolves around it. Sirius B is invisible to the naked eye, and the Dogon imams had no telescopes, but they knew that it exists and that its orbit around Sirius A is elliptical, not circular. They knew the position of Sirius A within the orbit and that the orbit takes 50 years. Sirius B was not discovered in the West by telescope until 1862 AD and was not photographed until 1970 AD. The ancient Egyptians had an advanced knowledge of astronomy and they knew about Sirius B, which is why the 3 great pyramids of Giza are lined up perfectly with the Orion star constellation. They made their map face south towards Sirius. The 3 pyramids of Giza were originally built by Adafa, all right, with the help of extraterrestrial beings. Adafa was in tune with the celestial beings that originally erected the pyramids. They are visitors from other galaxies. One of the great pyramids was built to preserve all of his friend's texts during the period of the flood. The Giza pyramids today were reconstructed by the pharaoh Khufu, also known as Cheops, and his son Khafre and Menkaure. 14. Khufu reigned for 23 years and had many sons and daughters. He sponsored several building projects, and monuments bearing his name can be seen all over Egypt. Khufu also sent mining expeditions to Sinai, Nubia, and to Arabian desert for their mineral wealth. In later times, Khufu's name was engraved on scarabs. The most famous of these are related in the Westcar papyrus. Khufu was an able and energetic ruler during whose reign the land flourished and the art reached perfection. Khufu left the land in such a stable economic position as to enable his son, Khafre, to reconstruct the second pyramid, a monument almost as colossal as that of his father. Khufu was responsible for only one accomplishment of magnitude, yet the size of the one is so gigantic that it overshadows all his father's military and trading exploits, and has brought Khufu's name and fame down undiminished through thousands of years. So much has been written about the Great Pyramids of Giza. Not only is it the largest monument of its kind, but it is the result of excellent workmanship, accurate planning, and proportionate beauty. The Great Pyramid has four major internal features: the underground chamber, the Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, and the King's Chamber. The King's Chamber is made from Aswan granite. There is an entrance to a 2 times 18-inch shaft north from the King's Chamber, and a southern shaft. Both extends through from the outer. I just want to see how much of this there is, because don't want to read. Yeah, it's quite a long chapter, long tablet. So, yeah, I'm stopping there, but we may refer back to it. All right, so I'm going to carry on. It says the Aurora, which is the North Drop B-2 stealth bomber, resembles a flying wing and was designed to evade enemy radar while carrying nuclear weapons. It exists at Area 51, which makes regular trips into space. It is a one-stage takeoff from a TAV, trans-atmospheric vehicle, and it can take off from the ground using its own power and land on the same runway. So extraterrestrial crafts that are of advanced nature, they don't need a runway. You don't need a runway to take off or a runway to land. You can just and gone. That's what they're really talking about here. So it says their pilots have made interplanetary voyages in these crafts and have been to the Moon, Mars, Venus, and Europa, a moon or satellite of Jupiter. Now, in 1997 AD, they all worked together to stop or fight other beings from coming here from outer space. They want to block Nibiru from coming, even though they read about it in Revelation 21. That's what I was saying about when you read Revelation 21, it talks about the Crystal City. Now, there's no more Russian threats, so why are all the new weapons think? And this is the real state of technology today that they possess at this very moment. The Aurora was unveiled to the public for the first time by the Air Force on November the 22nd, 1988 AD. It was used in the Gulf War that began in 1991 AD for night bombings. It is the hope of the United States government that this bomber will remain undetectable to the radar the Soviets now employ. But prior to the making of the Aurora, there was the Northrop YB-49. Again, refer to the same scroll. Are there UFOs, extraterrestrials in your midst? And it carries on to say there are those who claim that these crafts don't exist and are not being dubbed, yet they are able to duplicate them. One of these objects, which they say they have no evidence of. Now glance at this jet below, which is the stealth bomber, yeah? Examine the shape, the wings, etc. Do you see a resemblance? Now tell me what's the difference between these two crafts. I'll tell you nothing. Where do you think they got the design from? They're scientists. No, they didn't. These designs are all copied from one of these so-called flying saucers. Go back and look at the crafts in the 1940s and 1950s. Then take a look at the jump to this technology. Okay, so the master carries on. But if we look at this scroll, are there UFOs in your midst? I'll jump. So I mentioned earlier on about a scientist, a person called Bob Lazar, who worked at this facility in Area 51. Robert Lazar was hired by Edward Teller, who is called the father of the H-bomb and father of the Star Wars program. which was finished in 1984 AD. He was assigned to work on a project Galileo, which was devoted to the study of 9 different types of disc-shaped extraterrestrial crafts. He was assigned to one of the crafts. This is from page 16 of Are There UFOs, Extraterrestrials in Your Midst? Yeah, so he was working on 9 different types of disc-shaped extraterrestrial craft. He was assigned to one of the craft that had seats made for beings who were no more than the height of children. So again, when we go back to looking at what they've disclosed so far, it's important. Let me just go back to that slide with the. Oh, let me see if I can jump to it. That's taking me long. Let me just. Yeah, I think I will keep that slide on the screen whilst we. Yeah, this one here. In fact, let me. I know this is a lot to take in, but I'm not gonna. As I said, I'm not gonna. We may keep doing more continuation so that we will allow people to ask questions they want to ask. All right. So, yeah, just to reset the room for newcomers and those on Clubhouse. Today's class title is Alien Disclosures, continuation from the first part. And yeah, so in this scroll, Are There UFOs, Extraterrestrials in Your Midst, scroll number 84. The master is explaining here about, remember this scroll came out in 1995. We have to keep things in context. And he was explaining about Bob Lazar that was working in Area 51 and that he was re-engineering some of these discs that they've found, and that the seats were so designed that, you know, it looked like only children could be able to fit in those seats. And if you look at the grey on there, you can see how small they are. These are little tiny beings. In a report that Robert Lazar read, it was stated that the disk came from the 4th planet of the binary star Zeta Reticuli 2. He described the outside of the particular craft he worked on as being 15 feet tall and 52 feet in diameter, with the appearance of brushed stainless steel or aluminium with no visible seams, no welds, no rivets, and no bolts. It looked as if it were injection molded. The discs are powered by an antimatter reactor that sits on top of a hemisphere the size of a basketball that sits in the floor, and the reactor produces its own gravitational field. The source are run by a gravity amplifier that uses gravity waves the way microwaves are used on the planet Earth. The disk utilized a super heavy element, 1115, which can't be found naturally on this planet Earth. Do you remember what element 1115 is, or 115? No. Remember, at this time, they hadn't discovered this yet. That's Omicron, right? So the master was putting this out in 1995. So let's keep going. These craft run in 2 modes. Off this element 115 that is not radioactive in this state. One is the Omicron mode, which uses one gravity amplifier. This enables the craft to hover and move left or right and nothing else. Then you have Delta mode, where all 3 amplifiers must be powered up and fixed on a location in order to leave the atmosphere. These alien sources were able to generate their own gravity field and control space and time. This shows the intelligence. And remember, I explained that in the last class, because they create a warp bubble around themselves, and because it's got its own atmosphere, and it's almost like that's why they're able to, they can move without being affected by the laws of gravity that we have, and they can go into water, go into different things, and come back out. Okay, let's go. Earth, which is very primitive in comparison to other planets and civilizations. There are some civilizations that have 600 elements which are not just natural but created by the beings that live there. While Lazar was working on the project, he was under strict surveillance. His phone calls were being monitored like so many others. Lazar began to fear for his life and decided to tell the public about what was going on. Lazar knew the test flight schedule of the crafts and took some people into the desert to see some of the crafts from a distance. They were eventually caught after several times and he was turned in. He was debriefed and threatened the first time, and that's when he decided to go public with his story. What is so ironic is the Air Force claims that Robert Lazar never worked at Nellis Air Force Base, yet his name is listed in an old base phone book. Yeah, Bob Lazar has also given information about autopsies that were performed on alien bodies, but is reluctant to talk about the aliens he had seen at Groom Lake. Okay, I'm going to just read 2 more quick paragraphs and then we can see how we're doing for time. Question: when did all of this UFO and extraterrestrial information become so popular? Who's still awake? What does UFO stand for? Okay, good. I was checking you lot are still awake. Answer: extraterrestrials have been coming to the planet Earth for thousands of years and making contact with various people. Native Americans and the ancient Sumerians have accounts recorded in their history about extraterrestrial beings coming to them. However, in the last 40 years, crafts have become popularized with the sighting of the craft seen in 1947, which is what I was talking about before, with the Roswell. So they have a lot of things at the site. This is like, you can buy these when you go there, because the whole Roswell thing is a very big story, because it's one of the major stories in terms of the Roswell crash. But let's carry on. So he says, the master is saying, remember I said it was after 1940, that 45, that you started to hear more about these crafts. So he says, yes, in the last 40 years, crafts have become popularized with the sighting of the craft seen in 1947 AD, when the term flying saucer was first coined. On June 24, 1947 AD, a businessman and pilot named Kenneth Arnold witnessed a UFO, which becomes IFO, identified flying object. It was the first modern day sighting near Mount Rainier in Washington State. He was flying his small plane when he saw 9 crafts in the skies with an odd motion, like saucers skipping across water. He timed the crafts that were flying between Mount Rainier and Mount Adams and said that the crafts crossed the 47-mile distance between these 2 mounts in 1 minute and 42 seconds. That would equal being 1,656.71 miles per hour, which is something that was unheard of in 1947 AD. It was described as a crescent shaped with a hole in the center. That is what he saw. And the scroll goes on and shows you many instances of, and the master put out this picture already, called, sorry, the TikTok's gone off. Wasn't paying attention. Sorry, I'm trying to. Let's go back live. Okay, so yeah, this picture of the Ashtar Command in the book a long time ago, which is matching the Nordics that you're seeing over there, and the second, these guys, the Nordics, they look exactly the same. Actually, it's actually interesting. So back then, you had people like President David Eisenhower and Harry S. Truman, who were all obviously American presidents. and it says that the Ashtar Command are among many entities that come to Earth and have been circling above the Earth, for the most part invisible to the naked eye, since the early 1950s AD. They both were humanoid and have less water in their bodies and are pasty in appearance. Question: has the Ashtar Command ever met with any people and officials on Earth? Answer: yes. Since the early 1970s, a channeler named Tula says that she has been in contact with the Ashtar Command. In 1952 AD, crafts were logged as being seen over the White House in Washington, D.C. There was a meeting held and Ashtar Command met with the late President Dwight David Eisenhower, who was the 34th president, at which time America was asked to lay down their weapons, to lay down their arms, just as the last president, Harry S. Truman, had done. This is what I was saying, that whenever they risk destroying the planet, these extraterrestrials come and they tell them, you know, lay down your arms or else. Let's keep going. However, beings from the planet Venus were present at this meeting also and said, "Don't trust the people from Aldebaran." The government replied, "We can't lay down our weapons because of outside threats, and we don't know if we can trust you." The beings from Pleiades said, "We will prove to you that you can trust us and we'll stay here and help you." They made contact with common people such as Billy Myers and Ruth McGrory because they felt many of the officials were selfish and power hungry. Just as I stated, there have been many people who were contacted by extraterrestrials. Some of their stories were fabricated and some of their stories were authentic. These beings from Aldebaran became highly insulted after they were labeled untrustworthy. They went back in time and had a meeting with psychics with the Thule Society, who were a secret society. The meeting of the Thule Society led to what is called the Third Reich, or Reich, which powers still rule the world today. Refer to the man from Planet Risk. So Hitler held a super race with great reverence and respect. These beings have light blonde hair and blue eyes. They are originally bred by gene transplants, or what is called embryo implantation. The beings from Aldebaran gave Hitler a lot of technology and flying saucers, which Hitler took out to Antarctica. They were responsible for the technology. I think I read that bit before. All right, so Man from Planet Risk goes into so much technology, and it shows you a lot of the clones, many people that have been cloned. There's two types of clones. Well, now they've actually become more sophisticated. So most of the celebrities and most of the people you see in the kind of like media are clones. So there's a difference between clones and dubs, and I'll explain what. So a clone, the word clone means, it comes from Greek clone, spelled with K-L-O-N. It's a twigging, right? Okay, so it says clone means a group of genetically identical cells descended from a single common ancestor. One or more organisms descended sexually from a single ancestor to create a genetic duplicate of an individual organism through a sexual reproduction, as by stimulating a single cell which extends from kel to, meaning to strike, cut, with derivatives referring to something broken or cut off twig, piece of wood. Question: so are you saying that this is how clones are made? Answer: yes, clones are made by duplicating the genes from any one strand of DNA or one cell in the body. Or you can go into the cell and destroy the nucleus, then inject another nucleus into it. This can either be animal or plant. This would produce a duplicate cell from the donated nucleus to this cell. Another way to make a clone is by using identical particles of genetic material inside a cell, called a plasmid technique, which allows scientists to combine a plant gene with an animal gene. Cloning is not a recent scientific discovery. It has been in existence for thousands of years, but you just didn't know about it. When I tried to tell you about it over 25 years ago in books entitled The True Story of Abraham, edition 91, Ancient Egypt and the Pharaohs, edition number 85, and many others, everyone thought I was crazy. But once again, you now see that what I've been saying all along was the truth and facts. Some people fear the fact of humans being created by laboratory manipulation would be less than human. But twins, triplets, quadruplets, etc. are biologically clones. In twins, one is usually more aggressive while the other one is sedate. One may be very happy while the other grumpy. Many say they have double power, have the same brain thoughts, and can read each other's minds. However, they still may not have the same character or personality. The manipulation of genes isn't anything new. Here you're just using gene mapping and test tube babies and in vitro fertilization, where beings from one galaxies or humanoids, a type of extraterrestrial in human form, from the 7-star or 7 constellation of Pleiades and other galaxies have been manipulating genes for centuries. They not only clone but reproduce outside their bodies. So not to damage the body, humans are evolving towards this by the fact that soon people will not be able to carry a child for the full term of 9 months. The birth canals and reproductive organs are collapsing, and people will be passing the amniotic sac the same way a chicken lays an egg. I remember when I was explaining how women are actually laying eggs now, like chickens, people were in uproar, but the master has been teaching this for years. The lays an egg that gets hard after it hits the air. This will occur in the 3rd to 4th month of gestation. Then the fetus will have to be watched and protected from becoming prey to other beings. They say the same way any other animal guards their young. Is clone the same as a duplicate? No. As I said before, a clone is produced from twigging. Gene splicing. Cloning is just the process of multiplying the one cell. When the copies get past 2, it's not a dub. Dub means double. You must understand the difference between a clone and a duplicate. With a clone, you just need one, and from that one, you can make more. It's like having a master tape, and from the master tape, you make as many copies as you want. They are created from the process of twigging. Twigging is the process by which you join 2 things together, plant cell, animal cell, etc., and make new plants, animals, or cells from the first. Clones serve what purpose? Clones serve one purpose, and this is to teach, but it is taken so long for people to understand. The truth has been out since 1967 AD, but people have not been catching on fast enough. In 1970 AD, the doors were open. People lived with me, saw the truth, saw the miracles, and even saw the kingdom of the Most High, a movable throne called Nibiru, also called Makaba in biblical terminology, and gave it back. Because of this, there will be no need for clones, and they will become regular people with very big egos. I know everything. Okay, I can see that you guys might be getting information overload. So are there any questions or comments?
Oh, yes.
Or anything I've covered so far? Go ahead. Please speak into the mic.
Sorry. You mentioned a date in the 2030s will there be a big event involving extraterrestrial visitors, if that's an expression to use, and a big event happening in the 30s or leading up to the 30s?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that part of the final the final this end of this cycle, or a new cycle or something like that?
Okay, so there are 2 half an hours. So we're talking about from the year 1970 to the year 2000, that was a space of 30 years, right? And then from the year 2000 to 2030, it's another space of 30 years, which the first cycle completed in the year 2000 after the first 30 years, right? And that's the beginning of the new 24,000 year cycle, because every 24,000 years, there's a new cycle. But after 2030, which is the end of where they're going to remove the Adamites off the planet, is happening now, but by 2030, they will be completely removed. And so the 30 years from 2030 to 2060 is a time without the Adamites on the planet, where we, or those, depending on what happens from 2030, because there are meteorites and other catastrophes that are going to take place, yeah? The master used to teach, and still does teach us, about the 144,000, and we need to hurry up, because all of you, or all of those who are supposed to be a part of those 144,000, need to be raised up, and that's done through your mental capacity. So you have to digest, study, and retain this information, because that's what's going to upgrade you, yeah? So those 144,000 will be taken to Antarctica, and they will receive their barothry gland. And those 144,000 are teachers and the ones that will help to come back and save this planet and help others. And that's going to be during that period. I'm going to read an excerpt from an update that was given quite recently. I'm not going to read all of it, but it actually is very ideal for the subject matter, so I may just read as much of it as I can, and then it will go into your questions, Amal. So it says, it all started this time in June 2024, after the US government stated on June the 25th, 2021 AD, that UFO, identified flying objects, and UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, were real and are here, and not the Europeans or Euro-Americans contacts, right, which are 1, Aldebaran, 2, Arcturus, 3, Draco, okay? I'm not going to read all of the actual report, right, which is, it's actually entitled Preliminary Assessment on Identified Area Phenomena. So it's an executive summary. So I'm not going to read that, but in your own time, you can Google and research that, right? It was published June 25th, 2021. Can you repeat the title? Sure. The title is Preliminary Assessment on Identified Aerial Phenomena, right? June 25th, 2021. But I'm going to go into what it relates to. I'm answering his question and he's disappeared, so I'll carry on. Yeah.
Sorry, those 3, you said American, Europeans.
Yeah, Aldebaran,
Yeah.
Arcturus,
Taurus, yeah.
Arcturus, and Draco. All right, so I'm going to carry on. He can watch the replay. So in June 2024, people started to see and tape crafts flying in formation, the size of an RV with beings inside of them in Teaneck, New Jersey. It was the Greys, right? So the Greys are the ones, the short, small ones, yeah? It was the Greys, the ones on the screen. The government called them manned drones, right? They were, and again, this is in the scriptures. If you go to Hebrew Strong's number 3519, they were referred to as Kobod, Kabowd, or Kabad, which means glory of God, Kabad at, crafts. And the Pope saw them and said they seem to be looking for some place, thing, or someone. And the Master says, you know who, because they were looking for him. And then there's an article called Iranian Vessel, Drone, or UFO. Again, this is bizarre light spotted in skies over New Jersey. And so obviously a lot of people started seeing orbs, and the government started sending up drones, etc. But let me keep going. It says, once the government could not explain them as drones from China, because obviously each government always thinks that they either being attacked by another government or another country, or they have superior technology, so they always suspect each other initially. So it says once they eliminated the fact that these drones were not from China, Russia, Iran, or their own, and more came into sight by people and their cameras, the government, not knowing what to say, started putting up their own drones, all kinds, so they could be seen and recorded, so as to hide and cover up the truth, and flood the news with articles such as a sexual case of a politician, a man shooting a man in public view, a girl shooting children in school, a plane crash, a car running into people, the weather, and Christmas, and freeing inmates on death row. So much to take the mind off UFOs. And Thorn, the Antichrist of 666 today, again, that's Greek strong number 473, anti. Anti in Greek means replace. He is to replace Jesus and scrub it from the news. So you want to know what is really going on? This is the 24th year. This is tying into the elder's question. The 24th year of the next 24,000 years, which are 4 6,000 year cycles. So we moved in 2000 AD from the last lunar moon cycle of 6,000 years of fiction, faith and beliefs, all right, religions, to the solar sun cycle of actual facts, Wu Sabat, Nuapu, right? So from the year 2000, that was the end of religion, and is dying and fading out in terms of the beliefs and the fiction that was being taught. And we're now in the era of Wu Sabat, or the cycle of Ptah. The breaking of the hypnotic spell of ignorance. So the aliens were looking for the 24th elder, because it is time again for the 144,000. This is what I was saying when the brother left. It is time again for the 144,000 to be transported to the South Antarctica, down under the ice, to receive their barythry gland in their submental. So the submental is this region here, because sub means under, as in submarine, underneath, submental, and then it connects to your mental, to regrow in the hippocampus part of their brain from the resurrection. This is what this symbol represents, the double ankh, or the double resurrection, all right? For the resurrection, and to activate the use of their whole brain as supreme beings and deities. This is what the Master is trying to find in all of those that are triggered or activated by Wu Sabat. Who are those beings that are willing to raise themselves to become worthy to receive that barythry gland? I see people all the time come and they say, yeah, I think I've got my barythry gland and this and that and that. But no disrespect, but they're not doing, it's not about magic tricks. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you get your barythry gland so you can levitate, and like, if you can't take care and deal with basic things, then it's like, why having all that power and we're not able to do the basic things? Do you follow? So, but anyway, let me carry on. So he says, basic things like love and unity, come together, work together, build things for us, mental health institutions, because a lot of people are suffering with mental health. But let's keep going. To receive their barytheric gland in their submental, to regrow in their hippocampus part of their brain for the resurrection, and to activate the use of their whole brain as supreme beings, deities. Under the ice, there we have a great city. It is called Egg Island. When we came from the waters, we lived there protected by the mantis aliens. So the mantis aliens right there? Okay, the insectoids. Then we crossed over onto the South Ghanawa, Africa, and began, so the word Ghana comes from Ghanawa because that was the original name of Africa, and began our migration north to spread over the planet. And if you read the Proverbs of Yanun, if I have it somewhere, it shows you the map, from Antarctica and how, is that it? No, I don't seem to have it here. But let me carry on because this is tying directly into your question. So we began to spread, we lived there protected by the mantis aliens. Then we crossed over onto the South Ghanawa, Africa, and began our migration north to spread over the planet. Then we will be put under a deep sleep, and as each day is 1,000 years, there are to be transported by day or solar year 365 days after the crafts come from Orion by night, lunar year 354, so as not to crash into each other in the wormhole, the vortex. Orion is millions of light years away from Earth. A light year is the distance light can travel in 1 year. 6 trillion miles if solar. 186,272 feet per second. So it will only take a twinkle of an eye for each trip. Yet the 144,000, both males and females, are to be pure, inside out and outside in. This is why the Master constantly emphasizes we have to clean ourselves inside out. So you have to deal with your diets and cleaning your being, because for so long you've been given a lot of crap to eat that is stopping you from elevating. Okay, so he says, and pure inside out and outside in deals with ashuk, deals with divine love. If you read the Power Tarak, 3 types of love, like, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, it doesn't matter how much of the language you know, or how much money you have given, how much hours you've put working in the stores. It literally doesn't matter how much you've done if you're not pure inside out and outside in by way of ashuk. So if you don't have ashuk, he says in that same Patarak, it would have been as if you've not done anything. So you must have true ashuk or divine love. Let me read that again. So both males and females are to be pure inside out and outside in. The equinox of 24,000 years equal time. Once in Orion, they will be prepared to be taken to Kepler, 225,600 light years from Earth, to the Goldilocks zone, Alpha Centauri, a new Earth-like planet, just like this one, with no diseases, virus, sickness, no flesh eaters. So I always say stop eating the flesh. It is only for this new seed. Don't forget your question. I just want to finish this. Of melaninites, there to start anew. It was to take 6 years from 2024 AD to 2030, right? This is what's relating to your question. Are you ready? No. Genetic markers. You are controlled by 6 etheric 6 forces, pleasures, delights. As for those left behind, this sun has a birth date and a death date. The time will be shortened, and all the planets in this solar system will be drawn into the sun and become this star holocaust, explode and become a collapsed star, and all will be destroyed in 1 hour. It's called hellfire. And all hell and chaos has broken out in the Bible and Quranic lands because the children of the devil are there pretending to be the indigenous people. They're not. They are the cursed Europeans who invaded and immigrated there and took over. They removed the original blacks of those lands. Must this happen? No. Because like upstate Jazzaaba, Catskill Mountains, New York, when they came for you, you were not ready. The mark of the cursed seed mixed into your genes. The genetic markers cause you to hate self and kind, right? This is why he's constantly telling us to upgrade, because those DNA, the genetic markers within us is what's causing us to infight. Infighting, keeping you under the 6-star spell of sleep, Leviathan. And this plan by ETs, extraterrestrials, based on the number 24. Once this planet was repaired after the crash, so it used to be double the size, right? Before the crash, its size was 48,000 miles in circumference. On the time plan, and this sun is the light of the heavens and this planet, of this solar system and its planets and moons. It is 93 million miles from this third planet. Its diameter is 853 million miles. It is 92,760,000 miles from this moon. This moon is 2,160 miles at its equator and 240,000 miles from the planet Earth. This planet Earth is 7,926 miles in diameter and 24,000 miles in circumference. Time is 24 hours in a day. The equinox time is 24,000 years. The needed resource is element AU79, carat, 1/24th part of pure gold. Right, so that's the monatomic gold or Paramathcal that. A portion of the humanoid genome is 24,000. The end of each cycle of 24,000 years begins anew. Their Bible and Quranic laws given 1460 BC, Exodus 24:12, expired in the year 2000 AD. No more lies today. We hold the power of the sun in our very hands and know the truth. Such as this planet is a craft traveling at 67,000 miles per 24 hours around this sun. Its weight is 6 sextillion tons. Like Nibiru, it's just a planet craft flying through space. We place the moon exactly where it is to keep it in fit form and to observe its developments. The solar system has been returned to the Aldebarans of outside of northeast of Orion star system. The Galactic Federation has removed this planet's membership in the UGF.
This planet?
Yeah.
In Earth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because like how we have the United Nations with different different countries in it, when you're dealing with the galaxies, you have a federation known as the United Galactic Federation that members from different planets are in. Yeah. So they were warned not to move forward with the second CERN project and did not respect the orders of the 9. Again, if you want to know and read about the 9, we have the scroll called the 9, where the master, again, I might just, yeah. This is where you're referring to when you're talking about the meteorite hitting and the update, but this scroll, the 9, because the Council of 9, they're the ones that make the decisions. And
Sorry, can I ask this? No.
I'm almost done, and then I'm going to open up for Q&A, because time is, let me just let someone in. Where are all my moderators? Right, so they were warned not to carry on. Remember, CERN, they're the ones that are carrying out experiments by smashing atoms together, right? And they did not listen and to the orders of the nine, it smashed the atom and ripped time and space, allowing many aliens, many evil aliens, to enter this dimension. The exit gate is now open, while all kinds of alien crafts are now being seen world over. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I know you had a question. The elder had a question. The sister has a question. The sister at the back has a question. So I'll let you all navigate and pass. Is somebody coming on stage?
I've got a few questions, but I'll stick with two.
Okay, go ahead. What's the time, by the way? Yeah, it's 9 o'clock, so I might as well open up for... We may continue this because it's a large topic, but let's start going into Q&A.
So I'm just going to go off what you just read. The barrowfree land,
Tour.
the, let's say, object that's going to be inserted in the submental, is that to help grow the barrowfree land that's already existing, or is it a completely new device that's going to basically be the barrowfree gland?
No, yeah, it will be the barrowfree gland.
Okay.
Because what happened is when it was removed, it was surgically removed, and not in order to not to damage the nerve endings, they left pieces of it, yeah,
Sure.
and another board. So because it's dangerous to put it back, they're gonna now put it in your submental and then connect it to that area, which is the hippocampus region of the brain where it was originally.
Sure.
So that's what they're gonna do, and they can do it. See, they're so advanced that they don't have to operate on you like how if you went to a hospital today, they'll have to cut you up and all of that. That's primitive technology. They know about the fact that your body is porous, meaning that you have holes, and they've got enough technology, and they can use like laser technology where they can actually, and they're so advanced that they can literally go like that, and you think you're still awake but you're asleep. Put it in you, and you carry on with your life as normal, and you wouldn't even know it's taking place.
Sure.
But if you are actually, as per that update, taken and transported to Antarctica, then they will do it there.
Well,
Yeah. Some people are being born with it. So some had it already and it was removed. Some have it and it's not activated and it can be reactivated. Some children and some adults are being born with it. And they may not know they have it and it needs to be activated. And you know how, what's the word I'm looking for? Like your abilities and the things you do will tell you. And sometimes people start to trip because everybody obviously well, not everybody, lots of people want to claim things. Like when we talk about the golden children,
right.
everyone tries to claim that they're a golden child, but if you follow the criteria that is stated in the scroll, you can eliminate whether or not you are a golden child or not. And with every golden child, there's also a fire child. So some people are fire children, but believe or think they're golden children. And so yeah, that's why the master said, don't claim it, don't force it. If you are, you are. And he needs to actually touch people to activate certain, powers within them. He has touched certain people already. So again, that's another thing you can go, have I ever touched the master, or has the master ever touched me? And if he hasn't, and it could also be in your, what you call sleep state, but you can travel and he can travel to you. So there are many ways of him touching you. That doesn't necessarily have to be physical. Like when we were on Tamaray and he was able to touch people, certain people.
A lot of people would say, because they've heard his voice and they listen to his tapes or they read that's a form of touching as well. But
well, it is, because you only have one sense right now. Everyone thinks they have 5 senses, right?
Sure.
But all of what you're calling 5 are one, which is touch. So even when you see something, that's because light is touching your retina in your eye. When you hear something, that's sound waves touching your eardrum. When you taste something, you're touching your tongue. And there are receptors that all go to the nerve endings. It's the same when you smell something. It's touch.
Sure.
That's why when you're walking down the road, if you smell foul, it's touching you. If you smell burnt carcass or, you know, meat or whatever, it's actually touching you. And so it's very important, even when you're just trying to walk down the road, like people vaping, cigarette smoke, you know, the environment's not really good. But you said you had a second
I've
question.
got a second one. All right. I was going to go with something else, but I'll go with this. It was mentioned a few times satellites. So I think it's Europa being a satellite of Jupiter and Sirius B being a satellite of Sirius A. What is a satellite? Yeah.
Okay, so our moon is the satellite of the planet Earth
Sure, I've heard
because it's caught up in the gravitational pull of the planet Earth and it rotates around the Earth. So the word satellite can be used in many ways. Like you have satellites that are launched into the space, like Elon Musk has a gazillion satellites.
Yeah.
And these satellites are orbiting. So a satellite can be looked at as, let's say this is the center of a business or a head office, and then you have different branches somewhere else that are connected to the center. They will be like satellites to the main or central branch. You follow me? So our headquarters at the moment is in New York, and all the stores are satellites of the main headquarters, if you like. But when you look at it with planetary bodies, you're looking at like we could even say our planet and the other planets within our solar system are satellites of the sun.
Okay.
You follow?
So a satellite could be, because when I think of the Sirius A and B, I'm thinking of them being stars or suns. So could it still...
Yeah, because, well, they're like,
So they
okay,
could be anything that they needed to be, basically. They don't
yeah,
necessarily need to...
meaning that if it's revolving around one thing, then
Right.
it's a satellite
Satellite.
of that thing.
So,
You follow?
Huawei.
All right.
Star Trek.
A subsystem then.
Yeah, you could say that. Go ahead, Zamartak. Sister.
Sister, thank you. Okay, quick. It was going back to the year. It was a quick question on the year that the Earth's membership was revoked from the UGF,
Right.
please.
You just want to know the year?
Yeah, that's
2020. Let me just make sure I give you the. I think it was 2024. So that was. Yeah. Right, I'm just going to read the portion. So. We would not. Right. It was the last paragraph I read where it says that it was talking about expired 2000 AD, not more lies. I'm reading into it, and it says it's just a planet craft through space. We placed the moon there. The solar system has been, right, from this paragraph, it says the solar system has been returned to the Aldebarans of outside of northeast of Orion star system. The Galactic Federation has removed this planet's membership in the UGF, United Galactic Federation. They were warned not to, it doesn't say the year, it just says that they were removed. It doesn't say the year. It talked about the ending of the 24,000 year cycle in the year 2000 AD. But if I go by when, sorry, go on.
And so that was because they were refusing to follow the orders of the Nine.
It doesn't say, let me just read it so we can be clear. So it says, the end of each cycle of 24,000 years begins anew. Their Bible and Quranic laws given 1460 BC, Exodus 24:12, expired in the year 2000 AD. No more lies today. We hold the power of the sun in our very hands. We know the truth, such as this planet is a craft traveling at 67,000 miles per 24 hours around this sun. Its weight is 6 sextillion tons. Like Nibiru, it is just a planet craft flying through space. We place the moon exactly where it is to keep it in fit form and to observe its development. The solar system has been returned to the Aldebarans of outside of northeast of Orion star system. The Galactic Federation has removed this planet's membership in the UGF, United Galactic Federation. They were warned not to move forward with the second CERN project and did not respect the orders of the Nine. It mashed the atom and ripped time and space, allowing many evil aliens to enter this dimension. The exit gate is now open wide. All kinds of alien crafts are now being seen worldwide. It doesn't say. Yeah, but it would have been. Yeah, after it was definitely after 2000 because I remember. There's another update that I think if I can find it, we can.
So it seems like they basically, when they were trying to split atoms and stuff, they opened the portholes.
That's right.
That basically.
Yeah, and there are people who have seen beings that they described as shadow beings.
Yes.
And all sorts of beings. Remember, there was something in America where people literally saw beings at a mall and stuff, and some people were saying it's a hoax. But these are the types of things we're talking about. We're now portals.
Some portholes actually as well. In the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We see some portholes as well.
Yeah. There have been loads of sinkholes. Yeah, because a lot of beings are leaving the planet as well, because they see what's coming, and a lot of them know that their time is up, so they have to leave. They're scattering. So a lot of the buildings and crafts that they had on the ground, they've basically moved, and then people just see the sinkholes. Yeah. The sister at the back had a question.
Yes. How are the, I can't pronounce it, Barathri gland, how are they not activated?
How are they not activated?
Yeah. I mean,
Because there's only one person has the power and the ability to activate it.
Right, so some were
What you can do is prepare your being for it, and this is what the cleaning yourself inside out is about, because you do have energy centers that people refer to as the chakras, and the masters explained to us as Nagaru, Negroids, that we have 9, but all others only have 7. So by things like, see, they know who you are and your powers, and they've done everything in the last 6,000 years to stop you from waking up and realizing who you are. And so things like fluoride is used to decalcify your pineal gland, and that's one of the parts of the seats. So by you've got to activate all of them. So the heart seat deals with what we're talking about as Seqen, divine love. This is why when we go back to the laws of Ma'at, they weigh your heart against the feather symbolically to see that you don't have a heavy heart. Because some people hold on to things, grudges and all kinds of stuff, they never let go for years. And that's energy that is trapped within you. You know, there's other things like traumas that people have been through, the lust and the greed and the jealousy and the anger, and all of these are the 9 mental diseases that you have to eradicate to prepare yourself, and by your actions as well as your intentions. Because people will think that it's just about your action, but your action can be false. So you could do something,
Ulterior motive.
and it looks like you're doing something good, but your intentions are not. So it's about, this is real work on yourself. You have to do the work, and it's not about just being dipped in water and say you're born again and now you're going to heaven. Like, that's another trick to keep people from doing the work they need to do. until it's too late, and they never really wake up or activate to start the journey of turning themselves inside out. So if you are vibrating on that level, then anyone else who is, and if you're then in tune with the master, then you can meet him or he can meet you or touch you on any of the realms. You see, physically, spiritually, mentally, and so on.
So
And then
that's when
other
you're-
beings who are also vibrating on the same resonance frequency as you start to come together and work together. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so that's when the bi-theory...
Yeah,
I'll
then
just say
then
the
you
B
become.
gland, because I can never...
Just think of bara, B-A-R-A,
Bara.
then theory, T-H-A-R-Y.
Barathery.
But
Barathery.
Barathery. You can say
Barathery.
people say it quick, barathery gland, but it's the
Barathery.
barathery because the word bara in Hebrew is the same word they say is Genesis,
Right.
but it's
okay.
not. It's barashith. It's a reconstruction, a reactivation or a replenishing of the planet once it was originally destroyed. It's the same with us. You've been destroyed, and now you're being replenished by way of receiving back your powers by receiving your barathery gland. You follow?
Okay. And the Nordic...
The Nordic being.
Yes. I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, is that something he's wearing, or is it skin? Or
Oh yeah, that's clothes.
clothes?
Even when you see the greys, that's clothes. It looks like skin because when you're traveling past different environments, you have to. It's like astronauts have to wear the helmet with a big thing to be able to see through, and they wear an astronaut suit because if not, they will be damaged. So they wear their suits are just advanced. Yeah, but the different races do have their clothes and their insignias and so on.
So that's for all of them? They have
No,
their
the ones the insectoids and the reptilians, they are like that. That's what they're like. But they can also clone themselves or shapeshift, and they can make you see like an illusionist does. You know, like how magicians do. They can make you see what they want you to see. So you can look at a humanoid reptilian, and you will see them in a suit and everything. And that's what you will see, because they are able to bend the illusion, and so a lot of the people in like offices, government, the rich people in society that are actually reptilians, they're able to cloak themselves, and sometimes their cloak won't stay. So when there's many clips on social media now where someone's talking and their voice changes, and then they have to readjust quickly. Some of them only hold their cloak or their shapeshift if they continue to say drink blood or to do certain things. And after a certain time, if it stops working, they won't be in public view anymore. They will be somewhere, in a dungeon or somewhere, right, where they will remain out of public circulation, because there's nothing they can do anymore to basically keep their shapeshift or their cloak.
So it's like the lizards, isn't it?
That's right.
That they can change their colour.
That's right.
to make
If you look at,
go in a bush or something.
that's right. They can, what's the word? There's a term for it. What's the term again? They can basically merge with like the environment. There's camouflage. Yeah, that's the term I was looking for. Yeah, that's right. Go ahead, Zaman. I've got to check some of the questions in the chat as well in a minute.
What about albinos? Are they some sort of kind of hybrid or some kind of alien or something? Or?
Yeah, an albino is a deficiency or having a lack of melanin. You see, so the being that people call Adam is Canaan, right? Canaan, or they say Canaan. People mix up Cain, as in Cain and Abel, who are the Cainites, from Canaan, who was the son of Ham.
Oh,
Yeah, who were the Canaanites, who he had many wives and many children. In fact, yeah, let me show you. So he had, there you go. Yeah, if you have this scroll, this is Leviathan 666, the beast as the Antichrist. I'm going to show you on page 337, going forward. Right, this is him here, and he was an albino before he was cursed with leprosy. Yeah, showing all the people online, and Canaan, Canaan, right, 326 to 1660 BCE, son of Ham and Halima, right, and he had Salha, which was his sister and his wife as well. And then he had a wife called Shingara, who was an Anakite. Yeah, the word Anakite, or you hear Anakim, ties into the Anunnakis, right? He also had Hilda, who was a Horite. He had Hitara, who was a Flugerod, right? These are all his wives. And again, you can see their pictures in our scrolls, because people always say, oh, the master only put black people pictures in there, but that's not true, right? So these are his wives and their children and how they tie into the 11 sons of Canaan, yeah? I'm going to quickly run through some of them.
How many wives did he have?
Well, he had 11 children. They're not... Sidon was of one of his sons. Samat was the wife of Sidon. So when you hear names like, I'm going to show, in fact, there's a diagram here. Yeah, in fact, I'll just go to the diagram, because it shows you, like when we use names, yeah, there's a table in here on page 347 where it gives you the language, the pronunciation, the meaning and description, and which demon they are, and then the wife's name. So, for example, when we say, you hear us say things like the Jebusites or the Amorites or the Archites and Sidonites, and these are all of his lineage. I'm not going to go, do you want me to really go through all of them?
I thought there were 13 sons, 13 children.
No, 11.
11?
Yeah. I'll tell you where you can even find that. So yeah, see, I just mentioned Jebusite, which is the Euro Jews, Polish or Amorites, Americans, British, and Spaniards. Then you got the Spaniards are the native inhabitants of Spain. They are the Canaanite race and are not to be confused with our Latino brothers and sisters who are Negroid, who inhabit Mexico, Puerto Rico, Central America, Guatemala, Cuba, Santa Domingo, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, South America, Guyana, and Uruguay, yeah? Number 3, the pale race should also refer to you by name, Negroid. Negroids through time have mixed their seed with the cursed seed of Canaan, and as a result, they are now known as Sicilian, Southern Italians, Koreans, Japanese, Indonesian, Pakistanians, Malayans, Eskimo, some Chinese and East Indians. They are black, although they have violated the commandment of Yahuwah, Genesis 24:3. They are not the sons of Canaan, even though they've mixed blood with them. The 4th son of Ham, and Halima was the father of the Adam of the Caucasoid race. Libana, which was his name, right, or Canaan's name, because I think that meant milky white, name of at birth, had 4 wives and 11 sons. So that answers the question of how many wives. He had 4 wives and 11 sons who were all named after the event that was going on at the time or at the time of the child's birth. And there's a scroll called The Sons of Canaan by the Master Teacher. And another one called Was Adam Black or White? All right, so then, like I said, it goes on to list the languages like Phoenician, Aramic, or Chaldean. So you had Sidon, which means fortified, who was red hair and blue eyes. And the demon that possessed them was Samael, or Gina. The wife's name is Gina, to hide, to conceal, or to cover up. Then you have the Phoenician, Aramic, Chaldean, Hethar, which becomes Heth, which means terrible. The blonde hair, blue eyes, and the demon possessing her was Hakail, Sibyl, the secret. Then we go on to the Phoenician, Aramic, Chaldean language, which is Al-Yabusi, which becomes Jebusite, dryness. They've got black hair and dark brown, and the demon possessing them is Jitril, which is Shaloma, which means peaceful. The Phoenician Aramic Chaldean name Al-Amuri became Amorite, yeah, which means mountain dweller. White hair, white eyes, and it gives you the demon that possessed them. Asmodeus becomes Dina, which means in debt. Then you have Al-Jashi, which is Girgashite, which means rough ones. They got light brown hair, grey eyes. The demon possessing them is Gul, and the wife's name is Kama. And it goes on and on through the Havites, the Arkite, the Sinites, the Arvadite, the Zemarites, and lastly the Hamathite. The Hamathite, where you get the word Ham, are actually the darker ones. He was a dark-skinned Nubian with a Nordic wife from his brother Sidon. And the demon that possessed them is Beelzebub, Bada, which means whiteness. So, yeah. Yeah, I could read. There's a lot of it, but I'm going to stop there. Right, any more questions? Before we take more questions from the class, let me see if there are questions in the chat because we're neglecting them.
Can I ask, what's the title of that book?
Which one? The one I was just reading?
Yeah.
It's a series of 4 books called 666 Leviathan, the beast that's the Antichrist. This is part 1, this is part 2, and there are 2 more parts. This is part 1 of 4, 2 of 4.
Is it upstairs?
Not at the moment, but we will be having it available soon. So when it's available, we will definitely let you know.
I just want, because that last comment you said, I just...
Please, use the mic.
Oh, sorry.
And then I'm going to look at the comments and, yeah, go ahead.
There was a very recent trend on social media about red-haired individuals being... They're part of us. They're invited to the cookout. They're part of us. They're invited to the cookout. And I thought it was a very interesting regurgence of, like, because obviously, yes, we know that people come from Negroid, but I just found an interesting trend that just suddenly popped up, where it was really like...
Yeah, because what happens, whenever when the master says that, when you start to see that trait, it's the last of them fading out. So this is where you get that kind of the ginger and all that, and then they've got to actually mix back in to continue to survive. So when you see Prince Harry and what's her name, Meghan. That's it. That's them trying to tie into the vine. Yeah, and that's the last strain before the extinction of the Adamites. So they will promote that. Even if you look at cartoons, there were lots of cartoons or movies, even if you look at the Avengers with, what's her name?
Steve?
The woman.
The woman,
But they started. There was a time where they started to push that hair in movies as the stars, because that's again, whenever they want you to
Yeah, I know.
to mix in and to continue prolonging, that's what they do.
A lot of
And there's a
advertisements are like that.
yeah. I mean, I remember a time where there were no black people on commercials, but now it's like they're pushing a lot of racial integration generally anyway. Yeah, so that's why. Right, let's see if we've got a hand up on Zoom. Nilania, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Yeah, go ahead please and unmute yourself and ask your question. I'm going to look at the chat as well in the meantime. We have loads of comments. Are you there? Nilania? Oh, you guys can't see. Yeah, go ahead. Rahul back.
Right, my question is with regards to the
Regards to the what?
pineal gland and the parotid gland.
You're breaking up, but I'm picking bits and pieces. But go ahead, ask the question.
My question is about the pineal gland and the parotid gland.
Tua.
How do they work in accordance? How do they work according to each other?
Everything is connected. So even the other ones are all connected. But the thing is that if you've got something and it's not working, okay, simple example, you got your little finger. As insignificant as it may seem, if you hurt your little finger, it will affect the rest of your body. So that the seats are all related, and the more you turn one on, or like the objective is to turn them all on. And so going back to what we were saying before, someone might be very lustful, very the lower shaft, because you've got the lower ones go into the higher ones. The lower ones are the ones that are pulling you down more, and the higher ones are pulling you up. So when you're dealing with the pineal and the pituitary gland, they work in conjunction to help you activate the higher ones, yeah? So they're all connected, but some are not on. So if you have, this is another good example. Say you've got 5 light bulbs in your ceiling. They're all gonna give you light for the room, but one light bulb might be dead, or a few of them might be dead, but the others are still on. So the reality is that if you had all of them on, you're gonna get the maximum amount of light for that room. So when you think about your body, you have a light or a light being, which is your etheric or ether being or light being. Okay, so as you switch them on, you activate them, and then if you have no love in your heart, then the heart seat's not going to be activated. If you are very lustful, then it's just going to be the lower one that's activated, and everything around you is going to be predominantly governed by that. So they all work together, and you've got to figure out, in the best scenario, you've got to have them all activated or working. You're never going to get, well, not to say never, but the majority of people may not have them all operating at their optimal. So we have work to do on different parts. See what I'm saying? So, that's how it works. They do work together. If you want to really go into it, Man from Planet Risk, even the science of, let me see if I can find it, the science of creation and the science of healing goes into it. But does that help? And the thing with questions as well, because sometimes I'll read the comments in the videos and people may not understand something, or it hasn't fully been explained to them, but they don't probe and keep asking questions. So something might be left out, and they may think, or in another question, somebody might ask a question that goes into more details. Okay, I'm going to read from Man from Planet Risk. So it's important that if you don't get something that you should keep probing. Okay, so it says here on page 30 of Man from Planet Risk, I'm going to read from where it talks about the 4 higher senses, right? So it says these four higher senses were 1, telepathy, 2, clairvoyance, 3, intuition, and 4, psychometry. These higher senses are what connected you or enabled you to communicate with the various, remember the time we were going through this, it says Elohim, before you were able to communicate with more than one. Now, only one Elohim has been assigned to you, right? So it's talking about Tammuz, who was once disagreeable and converted to agreeable. I'm hearing like an echo. Was assigned to oversee you as your Yahweh, or he who is. That's what the word Yahweh means, or Adonai, which becomes master. Yeah, I think it's that. Thank you. Yeah, it's picking up the mic. Then it says, can you explain these higher senses? Answer, one of the 4 higher senses is telepathy. It is the ability to communicate messages from the mind without using verbal speech. Clairvoyance is the ability to see clear, know what is going on in another place or another room without seeing the event or events with 2 physical eyes. Intuition is the ability to know what is about to happen before it happens, or a second awareness about something that gives you guidance. Have you guys ever had that experience where you can see something happen in another room or somewhere else before? Yeah. So anyway,
Dreams, like premonitions and stuff like that.
yeah. So it says psychometry is the ability to be able to tell something about a person by holding an object that belonged to that person. Okay, so well, it goes on, but if you carry on reading, it explains how they are all connected and you need to activate them to get your full light being, or as we say, kind of activate you to be a supreme being. You're already a supreme being. You already have an etheric light being or light body. You have everything already. But one of the things that stifles people is them not accepting that they are who they are. A lot of people still don't believe, well, I say in themselves or know who they are. It's about, a lot of people I see, fear is one of the tools that is used by way of religion to stop people from letting go of things that they've been attached to for so long, like religion. They feel like if they let it go, because they've been indoctrinated and programmed for so long, it's almost like they're not sure. So they want to have one foot in and one foot out, just in case they think we're wrong. But we're never going to be wrong. We've not been wrong for 50 years. The Master's never been wrong. He's published over 1,000 books, and there's nothing that he has said that hasn't come to pass. He is the truth. He is who a lot of people are waiting for but don't realize it. But you're only going to know that once you put it to the test and study and try and ask yourself, how is he able to do what he does and no one else on the planet is able to do it?
I mean, why is he locked up? He must be dangerous
That's another way of looking at it.
to the authorities, to the powers that be.
That's why we say, like, I mean, our new flyer even goes into like the whole, like, there were so-called, had him on surveillance for years before the case that they brought, okay? And during the actual court case, there's no evidence. But you've had someone on surveillance from, say, 1990, whatever it was, up until the year 2000. There's no video evidence. How can you be surveilling someone and there's no video evidence? That's what surveillance is. You watch, and there's no DNA evidence. There's nothing other than hearsay. So we know who he is and why they find him dangerous, because his coming means they're fading and time's up.
But they did the same thing to Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, please use the mic. Remember, there are people
Oh, yeah,
online
sorry.
that want to hear you.
Sorry,
Yeah,
very quick,
I
'cause
mean,
I've got to go.
they've been suppressing any
Sorry.
uprising in terms of anyone that is they suspect is the one that's going to come and bring about this thing.
Is it on?
They're all on the wall over there.
sorry, it's not
Yeah,
on.
the mic's on.
It's not on.
Oh,
Okay. No, what I was saying is that they did the same thing to Marcus Garvey, and I'm trying to remember the others.
Martin
name as
Luther
well.
King.
No. The other one that they paid to kill him. God.
Yeah, but many leaders have been
His name.
taken.
Oh, Malcolm X.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Look, they're
Oh,
all
did
up
you say
there.
Malcolm X?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Someone else said it as well. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Going back to not accepting that you're supreme being, or having difficulty really living,
Accepting
it. Do you kind of a side question? Do you think that authorities can assess a person by their birth date and time, like their race, their timeline, their can the authorities?
Yeah, they have
can
technology and
can
things
they
that they can read.
track who would be more likely to be a speaker or a breaker of chains,
Absolutely.
etc.
Yeah.
And do you think that they target individuals?
Yeah.
But just by records and what's on black and white paper alone, basically.
Yeah, but not only that, they've devised many ways of studying you, and most people volunteer their own information, like on Facebook. And people don't realize Facebook is FB. I didn't have to say the word, but you see what I mean? Like, if you look at its origin and how it came about and so on, but not only that, people go and give their DNA to all these, let me find out where I'm from, data banks where people are giving their DNA to. We just read in The Man from Planet Risk how they take your cell or your DNA and they can clone you and manipulate you, right? The food you eat, the places you go. And so they've got blood banks. People give their blood, saying, oh, give blood, give blood. There's so many ways. Okay, why do you need a Tesco card or a Sainsbury's card or a whatever supermarket card?
Yeah.
Why do you need one?
To get a discount, I think.
Yeah, that sounds nice. But I can see what you eat, what you buy, and know what.
Profile.
Yeah. And if you say all of us eat a particular thing, GMO it to target your genes. Because it's easy to look at the data and the statistics of how many people eat this, where they go to buy it. So there are many things we do by just volunteering information and volunteering things. But when it comes to us doing it for ourselves, we don't trust each other. Like right now, if you want to be counted, amongst us, you have to go, like you guys are here, to your local stores and complete the forms that we're being asked to gather everyone together so we know who's who. And people will say, well, why do you want my personal information? But they will go and give it to the bank or to the college or wherever else they go to. So these are the things we're doing right now when you're on the inside in terms of becoming a part of the family. So that's a step everyone in there should take. Go ahead, sis.
I was going to say
I know that we run out of time, but I also want to look at the chat.
No,
so I'll take your
I
one.
was just going to say that every 10 years we have to complete a census.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. So
Where they ask a lot of questions.
yeah, that's right. All right, let me look at the chat quickly because I feel that we've definitely gone way over time, and the people in the chat. Okay, there's nothing really. Okay, cool. Reyes Ananda is just giving us sharing info. Oh, One question here that's definitely worth touching on is from Atumre Rahub Wawed Zamal Seqen Sakamreye. Can you elaborate, please explain how we are in the year 6026 for us new to Wusabat? Yes, because the year 2000 is the end of the 6,000 year moon cycle. So that 6,000, yeah, if you count from there going forward, we're now in 2026. You follow? After 6,000. So that's how we're in 6026. All right? But there is levels to our time because we can't tell them the exact date and time of everything that we're doing because they will know. Yeah, they will know. But there's secrets within the cycles that are kept sacred. All right, that was the only question I saw there that is. Yeah, that was the only question. It was a pleasure meeting you all today in Brixton, and being here was a joy. Thank you. You've just, reminded me to make a couple of announcements before we round off. We've gone over by 10 minutes. Did you want to say something?
No, early on.
And let me see whilst you're doing that on Clubhouse if there's anything in the chat as well. Go ahead, Zama.
Early on when you were talking, and you were talking about Cain and Abel, you mentioned a time period. Was I right or wrong that you mentioned a certain time period that they exist, that these events happened? Can you repeat?
So 4,000 BCE, right? Because remember that where we are, we're counting from 1 AD. So we would be in their calendar 2026. But if you go the other direction, before 1, we go into BC or before the Christian era. So then you'll be going backwards 4,000 years or to 4,004 years. So that's with the birth of Adam. But the thing is, there are different Adams within the cycles. So the last 6,000 year cycle would be the birth of their Adam, or we say Adamites. But even though in the biblical or Bible, it's making it seem like it's one person. But when you read it, it says, created he them and called their names Adam. You see what I mean? There's pluralization. But then if you was to go back now to the other Adams, because each Adam was a replenishing or a recycle or a new experiment of a new being. So you can go back in the Bible where it's talking about the 7,000 years. They say 7 days, but it's really a cycle. Yeah, each one they tell you day is like 1,000 years onto the Lord in 2 Peter's. So if you're using the Lord's time, 1 day will be 1,000. So by the end of the 7 days, or a cycle will be 7,000. And then each 7,000, you have to do that times 7. So 7,000 times 7 is 49,000. So that's another Adam, which is dealing with Canaan, not 6,000 years of the Adamites. Then if you go back and keep doing that in terms of cycles, you're going to end up with ancient Egypt, where you have the Ogdoad, which are pairs of what people call Adams. You can get this information in the scroll called The Beginning, yeah, where you would have, we say, Het and Hihet, Kek and Keket, Amun, Amunet. You see what I'm saying? Those are new experiments or new cycles of beings as well. So the illusion is to make you think there's only one Adam and everybody came from that one person, where they took the rib from that Adam to make the woman, etc., etc. But that's just dealing with the experiment that was happening for the 6,000 years Adamite. You follow me? So when they're saying they took a rib from Adam, what they're not telling you the real facts. The facts is they went into the marrow, the bone, to extract the blood from there, because that's where you get the purest bone, from the marrow when you're carrying out the experiment. So that's where it gets into the confusion of taking a rib and stuff. Yeah. But I have to end it there, Moisa. It was a pleasure as usual. Good to know that we now have, as I said, the new location in Brixton. There was supposed to be a meeting yesterday that has been postponed. We're going to give you the new date for the people involved with the 100 project. It's not forgotten. We've just done our first phase of 1 year, and we will be setting up a meeting for those involved for the updates. Yeah, make sure you go to your nearest bookstore and get involved. Be active and not just spectate. So until next week, same time, same place. Wadu Moisa.